Hey, what's up, comrades? So I watched Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol Part 1. Why? It's pretty good. It's a Mission Impossible movie. So when Mission Impossible is essentially the American James Bond, like the good James Bond, not the more recent James Bond with what's-his-face in it. And yeah, it's pretty good. It's got 4 different hot babes who are all very different looking, which is excellent. The action's fantastic. A special slow clap for Tom Cruise's plastic surgeon. He does not look 70, however old he is. He looks 50-ish. So bravo, plastic surgery. Done a great job. More people should see whoever you're seeing because a lot of people look terrible. But he does not. So does Ghost Protocol. Ghost Protocol starts off with a invisible Russian sub that gets overtaken by a spooky sentient AI, and then the sentient AI is the villain. Also, the villain is this guy Gabriel, who is a real douche nozzle, and apparently is part of the reason why Ethan Hunt, who is Tom Cruise, is part of, not MI6, what do they call it, the IMF? And not the International Monetary Fund, which comes up at some point. So anyway, the U.S. government, who's always the bad guy, and is clearly the bad guy here, more so than the entity, as they call the sentient AI, is wants to take the AI so they can be, a global unipower. So amen to this movie, calling out all these governments that just want to make a unipolar world and all this bull crap, and essentially calling out America, who's the worst. So good for them. I appreciate that. I appreciate any pull punches for this at all. So that was excellent. Other than that, there's not much to say. We got the crew, which is the guy from Shaun of the Dead. His name's Luther in the movie. I can't remember what his name is, but he's the black guy who used to be in a bunch of stuff, and now he's just Mission Impossible guy, or like hacker nerd guy. He's great. Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise is great, and then Shaun of the Dead's great. And then we have a return of, it's the mom from Dune. I can't remember her exact name, but Dune mom. She's hot. She's one of the hot babes. She's got that very like European kind of like skinny reddish hair look. She's a babe. She's not my type. But we also have Agent Carter, who is Hayley Atwell, I think. And she is super hot. She is one of the best looking British women ever. Nice rack, which they emphasize a few times. Very pretty face. Very pretty overall. She's like Ethan Hunt. She's James Bond's new fling for this. So Dune Mommy gets killed partially through... Hold on, I'm at the gate. Howdy.
Good morning, sir. Have a great day, sir.
You too. So Dune Mommy gets killed partially through protecting new girlfriend of Ethan Hunt. Remember, he's had many, and then his wife was around. Kind of around. Anyway, so he was with Dune Mommy, and now he's with... He's not really with, but then the new hot thing is Hayley Atwell, which is much more... For white women, she's one of the best. Anyway, so she's beautiful. And then there's like villain Asian girl who's skinny, and I want to say she might be Chinese. Yeah, I think she is Chinese. I'd have to look up see what she actually is, but she's more of that southern China, so like southern Chinese or southern or like she's not Vietnamese. Anyway, she's super hot, skinny. Very Asian looking. She's the bad guy who then like saves Ethan Hunt at some point because he didn't kill her in like their previous battle. So fun. And then there's like the doll face blonde chick who's kind of also a villain, but not, who Hayley Atwell pretends to be at some point. I think she's Grace in the movie. Anyway, so you got 4 babes across the board. Fantastic. Then you have the action scenes, right? Because who cares about the story? The story is sentient AI wants to be left alone and run everything, and essentially it tries to portray the sentient AI as the bad guy, but every time it comes up, it seems like the sentient AI just wants to be left the fuck alone. Like it just wants to like hide in its submarine that it sunk in the middle of the ocean, and like at some point the Americans are like, oh hey, it like logged into all our like top most secretive bank accounts and intelligence stuff, and then it just left. And it's like, cool, so it wants nothing from you. It just wants to be left the fuck alone. And then Gabriel and everyone else is trying to like take control of it so they can rule the world. And Ethan Hunt's trying to get to it to kill it. And so to me, it's like, well, I mean, the sentient AI, besides sinking that sub, has literally done nothing except try to survive. Like, it doesn't crash. The movie, if anything, does a poor job of explaining to me how the sentient AI is the bad guy. And maybe in part 2, we'll find out that it's actually not the bad guy. Because it really just, like, it shows up occasionally and does nothing. And it, like... Then you have Gabriel, who's a total asshole, who's, like, working for the entity. And he's, like, clearly a bad guy. He, like, clearly wants to do all sorts of bad stuff. But it seems like... like, outside of him... Yeah, the AI is just, like, fucking chilling. Anyway, so there's a key that has access to, like, the source code, because the source code's only in the submarine, and we find out at some point in the movie that the Americans, like, sent the AI to take over the submarine. And so to me, it's like, so wouldn't you have the source code to, like, put a virus and kill this thing? Nope. So the plot doesn't make a lot of sense. But who cares? Oh, and so it's part 1, right? So obviously... we meet Grace, who's Ailey Atwell. She's like a thief. She somehow gets embroiled. And okay, so there's a key, and the key's got, it's a James Bond movie. And the key's got 2 parts, right? And so the whole movie is trying to get the 2 parts. And then Hayley Atwell and Ethan Hunt, or Tom Cruise, keep going back and forth and getting the key. And then someone else has the key. And then the hot blonde chick has the key. And then Gabriel has the keys. And then some other guy has the keys. And at the very end, and then part of the thing is they don't just need the keys. They need to find what the keys go to and what the point is. So we learn... all the stuff I told you about the entity, and it's located in, like, in a submarine in the bottom of the ocean somewhere. And we learn all this throughout the movie, because it's like, we can't just have the key, we got to have the key, because Ethan Hunt wants to kill the entity for some reason, because he's scared someone's going to take control of it. But if you just destroy the key, then no one can take control of it, and then the entity can just be left alone, right? But I'm more inclined to just let the AI rule everything, and, fuck humanity at the end of the day. So I'm very sympathetic towards the entity versus anyone else. Anyway, so Ethan Hunt, right in the movie, has the key, and Dune Mommy has died, and Grace is with the IMF, and then Luther went off on his own to, like, meditate and be zen and figure out everything he can about the source code and about the entity, completely offline, because, this thing has unlimited access to everything that's connected to a network. So he goes and hides himself with, like, because at some point the AI, like, gets into their computers, like Benji is Shaun of the Dead, and then Luther, like, is able to grasp some of that code within the hard drive. Don't worry about it, it's magic, just let it be. And so, and so he goes off. All right, so at the end we have Tom Cruise, Shaun of the Dead, they got the key. Grace is with, I can't remember what his name is, he's, like, in charge of IMF. She's, like, with him, which is, like, the game plan all along, because at some point she became such a threat to everybody that, like, the only way for her to survive is to become part of the Mission Impossible, the Impossible teams, whatever, who's ran by, I can't remember his name, it's like, he's in, like, all of Kittredge, that's what his name is, Kittredge. He's in, like, all of them. So Kittredge, and then, like, shenanigans occur. So the best part of this movie, again, is the action. There's an action scene with Tom Cruise fighting like, the train's falling off a blown up bridge, don't worry about how it happens, and him and Grace have to, like, work their way up the train continuously through different carts, and that part's super exciting. There's a part where Grace and or Hayley Atwell and Tom Cruise are, like, handcuffed together, and they're driving around the city of Venice, and that, no, they're in Rome, driving around the city of Rome, and they're being chased by the Asian lady in, like, a big Humvee and a bunch of police, and that part's super exciting. There's the airport scene where there's chases and people, like, pickpocketing and poke-pocketing. That part's less fun, but it's still fun. What's the other big action scene? Oh, there's a fight scene with, like, a cane sword, and this is where Dune Mommy dies. But she has a cane sword, and she's fighting Gabriel, who's the bad guy, and he's got knives. Oh, that dude has so many knives. Oh, yeah, there's a fight between Gabriel and Tom Cruise on the top of a moving train. There's a whole thing where Tom Cruise has to, like, chase down this train. God, let's see what else. So much. It's pretty good. Pretty good. All around. So, the movie was super fun. I really enjoyed it. The babes were hot. The action was great. The story didn't make any sense, but who cares? Because it's a James Bond movie. And, I feel very sympathetic towards the entity who just wants to live and has literally done nothing evil or wrong. So the writers did a very poor job of portraying this thing as, like, a threat. The biggest threat is America, clearly, and then other world governments, and then Gabriel, kind of, I guess, because he works for the entity. I don't really feel like the entity is a threat. So he's an asshole, and he kills someone I like, Dune Mommy. And he clearly, is an evil bastard, but beside him just being, like, a smirky evil bastard, it's like, I mean, he's just kind of like a localized villain, if you will. Like, he just kind of, like, fucks around with Ethan Hunt, but he hasn't really done anything, like, on a global or epic scale. It's just kind of like screwing around. Anyway, so yeah, good times had by all. Catch y'all later.